Right now I'm standing over 200 meters up in the air, high above the city of Singapore. I'm up on top of the viewing deck of the Marina Bay Sands Hotel, which is the world's most expensive building and the latest iconic landmark here in Singapore. And at over 58 stories up in the air right now, it's a great place to show you a little bit of what Singapore looks like from high above, and as well show you what the role of sport is in Singapore. Now, because Singapore was an old English colony, it's still got a lot of British influence, and they like sports like football, rugby, and cricket. At the same time, it's also got a lot of Asian influence, and popular sports here and stuff that they excel at include badminton and table tennis. Now, in parallel, the government of Singapore also realizes that sport events can play a key role to bring some awareness and attention to the city itself. So let me just show you a little bit of the surrounding areas and how sport can kind of play a role. Now, down here, because right now it's the Singapore 2010 Youth Olympic Games, and that stadium right there is usually a football field, but they converted it into the ceremonies stadium where they hold the opening and closing ceremonies for the Youth Olympic Games. And in fact, you can see the flame burning right there. But like I said, when the stage is not there, that's typically a football field right there in the middle of the water. Now, swinging a little bit more out to the right, in the distance here you see the famous Singapore Flyer, which is the viewing wheel here in Singapore, but behind that you can see the paddock and the makings of the Singapore F1 race, which they hold every September for the last few years. And the government realized that bringing in a big event like the F1 brings it a little bit more attention. Now, just behind that in the water, you can actually make out the venue for the rowing and canoe kayak events as far as the Youth Olympic Games. And then one more shot in the distance across the canal there, you can see a big open green field. Now that's actually a municipal golf course that they light up at night, and you can actually play night golf until about 10 o'clock. And then just in the distance, you can see the actual National Stadium, which is kind of an old stadium at this point. It's got some lights on over there, and they're actually in the process of, they're going to actually demolish that and make a multiple sport facility over there. So it's an indoor-outdoor facility, very modern, and again, trying to draw more sports events here to Singapore. So even though Singapore is not necessarily known as a strong sporting nation, it definitely integrates sport into its culture, and it's a fascinating look at how sport can play a role in a place like Singapore. Only 5 million people, but a pretty cool place here in Southeast Asia. So from Singapore, this is John Simon.